I think that the university has a very fraught history with enslaved persons.
A memorial to enslaved laborers will be on display in the fall at the University of Virginia. Construction crews are preparing UVA's grounds to create room for the project. It is designed to honor the slaves who built the school in 1819. UVA was founded by the third president of the United States, Thomas Jefferson.
I was talking with a friend of mine, and I said, you know, this isn't the Charlottesville I remember. And she's a person of color, and she said, well, it's the Charlottesville I remember. And it really sort of made me just sort of stop and sort of reevaluate where I was and how I was looking at things. And, you know, seeing those people with torches walk across the lawn, a lot of whom looked just like me, it was deeply disturbing.
Anthony Xinsheng is a PhD student at UVA studying anthropology. He says he grew up not far from Charlottesville. Xinsheng is referring to the night prior to the Charlottesville riots when white supremacy groups marched across the UVA campus.
It kind of made me think about the things they were chanting, the things that they were saying. You know, at UVA we claim Jefferson, and he's the founding member of the university and all of this. But Jefferson was a slave holder, and, you know, as much as we might try to claim him for his good things, you know, the white supremacists have just as much reason to claim him. And I don't think that we can conscientiously think about what it means to go to UVA without recognizing that and thinking about how he was a complex person, and even though he was espousing these freedoms of men, wasn't treating all of the people he knew equitably.
UVA's President's Commission on Slavery and the University, co-chair Kurt Von Dack, is also a UVA assistant dean and history professor. He says Jefferson's double life continues to be revealed and has cast a different light on his legacy as a founding father.
A couple hundred people in torches marched through the university yelling, "You will not replace us, Jews will not replace us," and then terrorized a group of students on the north side of the Rotunda. And they were here to attend the march the second day, and they were at the university to claim Thomas Jefferson as theirs too. And they're not entirely wrong, right? There's multiple Jeffersons that inhabit this place. He's the founder of this university. He wrote the Declaration of Independence, but he was also someone who owned 607 people over the course of his life, and really rarely ever lifted a finger or counseled anyone to lift a finger when ending slavery was brought up as perhaps a material objective in the near future.
Sarah Ali is a sophomore at UVA and shared with me the history behind the university's lawn and concealed views.
Behind me is Old Cabell. So the reason they built this around like the late 1800s, and the main reason was, there was two reasons. One, they needed more places to get classroom, and also another reason was because Thomas Jefferson intended to look out to the Blue Ridge Mountains, but there was the African American community in the way of that, so they built it to really block off and seal that, and that's the underlying history about that.
According to Ali, the town made up of free African Americans was called the Venable community. She admits hearing about UVA's past was a bit unsettling.
It was shocking to me when I first heard it. I was happy UVA brought it to light, but it didn't really do it justice. It just upset me a lot hearing that.
Listening to Ali's response, I asked her about Sally Hemings, a slave and half-sister to Jefferson's wife, Martha. Hemings had several children by Jefferson.
Last year was my first year here, so we celebrated the bicentennial, and they made sure to mention it during the celebrations, and that's when I first heard of her and the history about him raping her and things like that.
She was aware Jefferson owned many slaves.
But hearing that specifically just upset me, especially with everything going on in today's world, and specifically with like gender, like with women, and like how we're really fighting. We're still fighting for our rights. Everyone thinks it's over, but we're still fighting. So it was upsetting.
Jordan Simpson is also a second-year student at UVA. She told me more about the university's academical village.
This is what Thomas Jefferson had in mind when he was founding the university. So this is where traditionally the professors and students would live. Now there are some fourth years living on the lawn and professors still living in there.
And her response to the university creating a memorial to enslaved laborers?
I think it's great. I think that there needs to be something visible on grounds that memorializes and thanks the people that literally constructed this university. But I also don't think it's enough. I think that symbolic things are great, but also there needs to be action in terms of paying people that work here more money and making sure that this environment is more inclusive and warm for all marginalized people.
Please don't misunderstand Simpson, Ali, nor Shinshang. The students like studying at UVA, but they do have concerns about the role the school played during slavery, especially because of its founding father, who also happens to be one of the fathers of the Declaration of Independence.
This university has a lot to do in terms of reconciling with its racist past, and we have a lot to do moving forward in terms of not only surface level sort of accepting that, but also moving forward and actually taking some action to address those things.
In Charlottesville, Elaine Rackley for Breaking Through News.